Chicago's murder rate is higher than it's been in decades. The Chicago Police Department says that the city has seen more than 40 murders and 160 shootings in the month of February alone. The Chicago PD is blaming street gangs for the rise in homicide cases. However, there are more underlying factors to the soaring murder rate. Here's RT's Ashley Banks with more.
Chicago's murder rate this year is the worst that the city has seen in nearly 2 decades. Just yesterday, the city held a visual for Cherie Graham, a 30-year-old mother of 3, who was shot and killed in a car last Friday evening while going to get food for her children. Graham is just one out of 102 victims who have died from gun violence since January 1st of this year. That's according to the Chicago Tribune. In the month of February, the Chicago Police Department says that there were 43 murders, 165 shootings, and 187 shooting victims who sustained injuries. The interim police superintendent, John Escalante, is blaming the rise in crime on these 2 things. 1, gang violence fueled by social media, and 2, lax sentencing guidelines for gun arrest, saying, quote, "That's huge, and it does drive quite a bit of the violence, and we see it after a violent act. We'll see a gang taunting another gang because they just successfully shot a rival gang member." Gangs are not the only reason for the soaring homicide rates, as the Chicago Tribune keeps its own count of violent deaths in the city, and those numbers include police shooting deaths. Chicago came under fire just last year for the police shooting death of Laquan McDonald. McDonald was shot 16 times by a Chicago police officer. The entire ordeal was captured on dash cam video, and the officers involved in the shooting were not charged with the 17-year-old's death. Scholars are also linking the rise in crime to the shutting down of schools and the high unemployment rate. The Chicago Tribune reported that nearly half of young black men in Chicago are out of school or out of work. Since 2013, Mayor Rahm Emanuel has closed down more than 50 schools in Chicago in low-income areas heavily populated by blacks, overcrowding the remaining schools and overwhelming teachers who are not equipped to teach a large number of students. The students quickly become frustrated with not learning and having to travel long distances to get to schools out of their zone, so they resort to dropping out. They then seek employment, however, don't land positions because they don't have the education or experience. So they become desperate and resort to partaking in illegal activities, such as joining a gang in order to make a living, therefore adding to the rise in crime and the rise in homicide rates in the city of Chicago. In Washington, Ashley Banks, RT.